Hello, hello, hello. Hey, this is Warren Redlick. Thank you so much for watching. I am here in Bangkok, Thailand, ready to talk about Tesla, 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 and we'll throw in some Starship while we're here. I hope you are all doing well. Let's see if we've got anybody watching, but I'm going to dive into it anyway. The big deal that I'm going to be talking about today is this post here from Elon. Tesla robotaxi unveil on August 8th. Now, the backstory that people are talking about here is Elon. Reuters did a story saying the Model 2 was canceled. There never was a Model 2. I'll talk about that in a minute. And Elon said it was a lie. Thank you, Mark. Nice to see you. Elon said that was a lie. And not long after, Elon posts Tesla robotaxi unveil on August 8th. Sawyer Merritt quote posts him and says it's the luckiest number in Chinese culture associated with wealth, prosperity, and success. And Elon says August 8th and year of the dragon. So Elon dropping some big hints there. Something's going on. My day is going great. Hit the gym, spent some time with my girlfriend. Life is good. I cooked a meal. We went for a walk in Chatuchak Park and on went to the Chatuchak weekend market. Great time. So this is pretty big, and I've got a lot to talk about with the robotaxi unveil. And if please, comment in the chat if you think there's something that that I should address. But let's just see. Okay, that's better. So first of all, there's people who are saying, oh, Elon, it's a knee jerk thing from Elon. He, surprised the Tesla team and now they got to scramble to deal with it. I mean, it's 4 months away. It's not like he said we're doing something in 2 weeks and they got to scramble. They got 4 months. There's a really strong chance that the team was on board with this from the beginning. That this is something they were already talking about doing. And I think the first thing to talk about with the robotaxi unveil is, why does Tesla do these events? So, are they going to take pre-orders? It's not like they need the money. It's not like they need to raise funds in order to be able to fund development of the robotaxi. And, if they got 2 million orders at $100 an order, it'd be $200 million. That's a drop in the bucket for a company with $30 billion in the bank. So that's not the point. I'm not live on X. I'm only live on YouTube. I have not figured out how to live stream to both at the same time. I know it's possible. It's not worth the effort, frankly, for me to bother doing that. And I find that live streaming on X so far has not been that rewarding, and people don't watch. People watch more on YouTube. So I think that X will make it more of a video platform in the future, and when they get more committed to making it a viable video platform. I mean, I'm already posting the videos here. I'm recording this video and I will post this video here. But in terms of doing it as a live stream, in terms of posting videos on X to make money, that doesn't appear, that's not there yet. I think it's coming. I think they are working on monetizing video content. But also I just don't get the following. Like right now we've got 89 people watching, and by the time we're done we'll probably have 200-300 people watching, and you just never, it's hard to retain an audience on X. There's people who do it, but I don't. Do I think they're going to cancel the $25,000 car and concentrate on the robotaxi only? So this goes to the story that the lie that Reuters published, that Tesla was canceling the Model 2. So for starters, there is no Model 2. That's one of those silly things that, there never was a Model 2. There's a next generation vehicle platform which will focus on the robotaxi vehicle long term, but it is very clear that they have decided to make a version with a steering wheel and pedals. Now, look, it's going to be steer by wire. It's probably going to be drive by wire. So popping pedals and a steering wheel in there isn't really that big of a deal, although I think the configuration of a driverless robotaxi may be so different from the configuration of an ordinary car that there are significant changes. But given what they're doing, it's probably not that hard. It's probably hard, but not that hard for them to make both. So I believe one variant of the platform, this is speculation, right? Nobody knows. The Tesla team knows and we don't know. But one variant of the platform will likely be a human drivable compact, roughly Corolla or Corolla cross size. The Toyota Corolla, one of the best selling cars in the world. Tesla tends to target mass market cars and say, we want to make a car like that. So the Model S probably was targeting something like the Mercedes S-Class. They called it S for a reason. It's a little smaller than the Mercedes S-Class, but I think that may have been the target. Um, the Model 3 pretty clearly targeting the Toyota Camry. The Model Y pretty clearly targeting sort of Highlander slash Toyota RAV4. These are best-selling cars in their category, right? So if they're going to do a compact, what's the best-selling car in the category? It's Corolla. So I think they're aiming for something in the ballpark of Corolla size and maybe Corolla Cross size rather than Corolla size, SUVs being much more popular than cars. Or maybe they'll do both a sedan and an SUV version. But I think if you look at the Corolla Cross, not that much different from the Corolla. And I think my theory, and I haven't heard anybody, there's no evidence for this. This is just Warren's gut feel. They might make a small commercial use transit van on the platform. Look up the Ford Transit. It's a smaller van that is used for deliveries in some contexts. That when you don't need the big delivery van, it's not that big of a market, but it probably isn't that big of a deal for them to make them. And I think there are markets where that would be really valuable. So, do I think the new Roadster could play into the robotaxi service? Not really. No, not significantly. Um, yeah, no, they're not canceling it. But first of all, there's no Model 2. Tesla told us, I forget what event it was. We're not calling it the Model 2. I think it was Battery Day. Maybe, but maybe it was, I forget. Somebody brought up the Model 2, like, we're not calling it the Model 2. But people keep calling it the Model 2. No matter how many times they say we're not calling it the Model 2, people keep calling it the Model 2. They call it the next generation vehicle platform. They call it the robotaxi vehicle, but people like Gene Munster, he's a Wall Street analyst, they and Barry Glack or whatever, all these guys have to talk about it as the Model 2. There's no Model 2. So Jiffer says Tesla has a good price point like iPhones. If you go from Model 3 rear-wheel drive to long range, why not get into a rear-wheel drive Model Y? I think there is a rear-wheel drive Model Y. Maybe not in the US. Can't watch Meet Kevin Tesla content, so depressing. Yeah, I'm gonna get to Meet Kevin. Yeah, let's talk about that while we're here. So I posted this image on X. There are so many people who seem to think that they're qualified to tell Elon Musk how to run his company. At Tesla in particular. They don't usually tell him how to run Neuralink or SpaceX, or not as many people tell him. There's people who tell him how to do anything, but the boring company's a waste of time, whatever. Look, this is Michael Jordan. If you don't know who Michael Jordan is, I'm sorry. Michael Jordan, at least arguably, and probably the greatest basketball player of all time. I think Bill Russell deserves a shout. And Wilt Chamberlain kind of deserves a shout. But Michael, pretty good case for the best basketball player ever. You don't tell Michael Jordan how to play basketball, right? I suppose if you're Bill Russell, maybe you can tell Michael Jordan how to play basketball. Maybe if you're Wilt Chamberlain, you could say something to him. But you and I don't get to talk to Michael Jordan and tell him how to play basketball because I played a lot of basketball, but I'm not on his level. And all these people who are telling me, look, he's probably better, but this is the Michael Jordan of the tech business world, right? I mean, Michael Jordan started out, he came into the league, and he lost a lot of games, and they didn't go to the playoffs a lot. And he built team around himself. Working with Bulls management, built teams around himself so that they could go and succeed and become champions. Elon started off, struggled, but over time he found ways to build teams. He built teams at Tesla, he built teams at SpaceX, he built teams at Neuralink, he built teams at the Boring Company, he's building a team at XAI. He builds teams to get it going. So the idea that if you go on the X platform, if you watch YouTube, you'll see Meet Kevin, who's I didn't pull up Meet Kevin. I didn't save an image of Meet Kevin for this. Meet Kevin, Barry Glack, aka Gary Black, Lost Gerbil, aka Ross Gerber, Tesla Q Cat, aka James Cat. There's all these people who seem to think that they're qualified to tell Elon how to run a company. And I'm like, would you tell Michael Jordan how to control a basketball game, how to play basketball? No. None of these guys would think that they can tell Michael Jordan how to play basketball. So do you really think you're qualified to tell Elon Musk how to run a company? No, you're not. Who the hell are you? Like, if Larry Ellison talked to Elon and said, hey, here's some thoughts, Elon's going to listen because Larry Ellison has some credibility. And if I hear Larry Ellison offering suggestions, I'll give Larry Ellison a listen. Larry Ellison, former board member of Tesla. Jeff Bezos had advice for Elon. I'd probably listen, right? Somebody who's built a great company deserves a listen. Mark Cuban, maybe, but the practical reality is there's not a lot of people on this earth who understand what Elon's doing to be able to say this is what Elon's doing wrong. Sonic Liberation is this show about the optional SpaceX engineered thrusters to potentially be made available in the new Roadster? No, I don't expect to talk about that in this on this video. Um, so yeah, Meet Kevin is an example of it, and so the key point about Meet Kevin, by the way, is Reuters comes out with a story saying the Model 2 is canceled, which what the story was not well written. If you understand, if you follow me, if you follow Stephen Mark Ryan, if you follow Limiting Factor, if you follow James Dalma, if you're really into this stuff, Bradford Ferguson, if whole Mars blog, if you understand what's happening with Tesla and you read the Reuters article, you'd be like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like the story was that they're canceling the human driven version of the next generation vehicle, calling it the Model 2, which is not his name, because of low cost Chinese EVs. Because the Tesla team was completely unaware, despite however many times Elon has said that Chinese are really competitive at manufacturing vehicles, right? Somehow the Tesla team was blindsided, had no idea that the Chinese were building, low cost EVs, and oh well, we don't have a chance now, so we're going to stop making it. It's totally stupid for so many reasons. And a primary example of why this is stupid is, and Elon has talked about this. Like, again, if you listen to Elon, like if you're going to criticize Elon, you probably should listen to him first. If you're going to say you're an expert on Elon, you probably should have read the biography. The global fleet of cars is around 2 billion vehicles, and the mission is to replace the global fleet of gas vehicles with electric vehicles. So let's say the Chinese get amazing and they start making 50 million low-cost EVs a year. It's going to be a long time, like 200 years, to replace a 2 billion global vehicle fleet, right? Maybe it's 50 million vehicles a year. That'd be 100 million vehicles every 2 years times 20 years. It's 200 years to replace the global fleet. There's plenty of room for other people to make EVs. If you're trying to replace 2 billion vehicles and Tesla makes 20 million and the Chinese make 50 million, there's still room. It's just dumb. There's so many ways in which that article was dumb. And somebody who understood the company would say, well, that doesn't make any sense. And, had they said, you know what, the latest developments in FSD version 12 are so awesome that the Tesla team is so excited about the positive developments in FSD, they've decided not to make a version with a steering wheel because they're expecting the robotaxi to be ready, the software to be ready in time for robotaxi, so there's no need to make the vehicle human driven. But they didn't say that because that would be a positive spin. And Reuters doesn't write stories that are positive about Tesla. So, and they didn't mention FSD version 12 at all. This is like the hottest thing happening in Tesla land right now is how awesome FSD is doing. There's this graph that Tesla AI published that they hit 1 billion miles driven. And look at this curve, right? There's an elbow back in 2022. There's an elbow in mid 2023. And now we're like March, April 2024. And it looks like the curve's going vertical. The number of FSD miles being driven is accelerating. And you need a lot of miles driven so you can experience enough of the world so that you can train the software on all this data. And you need enough compute. And Elon has said they're not compute constrained anymore. And there's a lot of hints. And Ashok Ellaswamy, who's the director of the Tesla Autopilot team, he's going nuts about it. Phil Dwan on the Tesla Autopilot team, he's going nuts about it. There's a lot of, it's not, when it's not just Elon, when the rest of the team is talking about it, they're onto something. So this is just dumb. So Meet Kevin publishes like a video or a space or something like that. And the title is Tesla cancels Model 2 or Model 2 cancel or something like that. Without any, he supposedly said in the space, well, I don't know if this is true. Well, don't make an all caps headline, which suggests it is true, because not everyone who sees your headline is going to watch your space. Right. And so there's a group of people on X, and I called out a few of them, who repeated the story uncritically. Okay. No skepticism. No, like, I'm not sure. Like, I posted the story, but I posted, this is from rumors. Reuters is rumors instead of Reuters. And I posted why this is probably BS. And I posted, if it was true, this is why it might be true, but it's not true. Right. I shared that this story was out there, but I also shared, this probably isn't really true. And there were a number of accounts that talked about it as if it was true, without questioning. And if Reuters publishes something, if AP publishes something, if New York Times publishes something, CNN publishes something, MSNBC, if the mainstream media publishes a story that seems like kind of extreme and crazy, then it's probably not true. because they can suck. They just do. So yeah, I already covered that part. Um, already covered that part. Let's see. When Chuck Cook has 365 days of no interventions, robotaxi will be close. Well, so the thing is, it's kind of like this curve. It's kind of like this curve. FSD is improving similar to that curve, and we don't know we don't know where the threshold is when it gets good enough that it's better than human, right? That it can be driven unsupervised better than human. We don't know when that threshold is, but we know if you're going up like this, you're going to get there fast. And we are not good at predicting exponential change. Humans are pretty good at predicting not change, no change. We're a little bit good at predicting linear change, and we really suck at predicting rapid change. So this is gonna just like when AlphaGo. If you haven't seen the documentary yet, watch the Google DeepMind AlphaGo documentary. It just happens fast. It gets to a certain point and it starts going and it happens fast. Hopper says, I'm worried that they're pushing robotaxi too soon. Well, they haven't done robotaxi yet, so I don't know what you're worried about. They're not going to start manufacturing it until the fall of next year. Do I still expect 50% growth? I don't expect 50% growth in 2024 or 2025. I expect, and this is actually the big thing. I want to go back to this. Why did he say 8-8 and Year of the Dragon? He's acknowledging that this is about China. Well, what we were told before was the next generation vehicle will be manufactured in Texas first and Mexico next, and then we'll think about other factories. And I never bought that. I bought Texas first, but I think that they're going to Berlin almost immediately, and I think they're going to China almost immediately, and they may or may not do Mexico, depending on whether the Mexican government is cooperative in doing the Mexican factory. But the biggest markets for any Tesla vehicle are China, North America, and Europe. So the idea that they're gonna, start making these vehicles in Mexico before they make them in China and Germany, I never bought that story. I'm not smarter than Elon. I'm not claiming I'm smarter than Elon. It's just like that one never sat right with me. And I'm pretty sure I said it at the time. So, what does this mean? Why is he talking about this? And I have my little my I got ChatGPT and Dolly to make me an image of, is the factory the dragon? Are they thinking about the factory like it's a dragon spitting? Because they've talked about it. They want the factory spitting out cars at high volume. Cars are coming out fast. So are they coming out like dragon fire? Maybe that's what it means. Maybe it means there's going to be a China version of the vehicle when it first hits. Like they're not just doing a U.S. version or a North America version. There may be a special China version. And I could see significant differences in Asian markets and American markets to where, we have a lot of very overweight people and a lot of old people and a lot of tall people. And the vehicle you'd make for, where do I have it? Not that one. This vehicle, I don't think this makes sense in the US market because look, I'm in better shape now, but I'm 6 feet tall, when I was 230 pounds, which is not that unusual for an American, and I was out of shape, it'd be hard for me to get down into that vehicle, right? If it rides too low, it's hard to get in. Model Y is more popular than Model 3 in part. SUVs are more popular in part because they're easier to get into because you don't have to scrunch down to get in. At times, I just rode on a new Model 3 less than a week ago. At times, it's hard. It has been hard for me to get into a Model 3 or get into a Model S. Right now, I guess I'm in great shape or whatever, and I didn't even notice that it was difficult to get in the Model 3. But there are times, and then there are people who are much worse shape than me. Maybe they're taller than me, maybe they're heavier than me at my heaviest, and it's just hard. So for the American market, you probably need a vehicle that's easier to get into than this. If they have to scrunch down that much to get in, it's not going to do well. So I don't think that's going on. But maybe it works in China. They're shorter than in Asia generally. There are some heavy people here in Thailand. There's some heavy people I've seen in India. Japan, they're all thin. There's like no fat people in Japan. I don't want to say there's no fat people in Japan, but compared to the US, there's basically no fat people in Japan. So, I think there are markets where this might work, where people are used to getting into small things, but not North America, not the US and Canada. I'm not sure about Europe. So, clickbait BS. Oh, that was Meet Kevin, I think you're talking about. So I don't believe the 365 days of no interventions. I don't know that that's the standard. I don't think Chuck Cook is the standard for this. Um, I don't think that's what's going on. But I do, I just think that this was a really big clue that we have to interpret now. So is it about, will they do the August 8th event simultaneously from Texas and China? Will they do the event from China alone? What does it mean? If they do the event in China, I might be able to make it. That'd be fun. Yeah, Meet Kevin is a traitor. I don't think he was ever on our side in the first place. Do you think FSD pricing can be reduced by 50% increased usage? I think there's an argument to be made that Tesla should do. The problem is that I think if they lower the price of FSD and they play with the price of FSD, I don't think it increases the take rate much. Just it doesn't have that much of an impact when they lower the price. So why lower the price? If you're going to lower the price 50%, you're going to increase the take rate by 1%, then you've just lost a lot of money for not much gain. So free trial makes sense, right? That generates a lot of data. LJ says 1 accident per 100,000 miles would be a reasonable rate. Um, I don't I don't think that we're gonna see a lot of accidents. I don't think that's it, but I think it's gonna get better and better and better. LJ says, Warren, I bet you're loving the quality and price of life in Thailand. So just really quick on that point, the cost of living in Thailand is my cost of living in Thailand is roughly less than maybe a third of my cost of living in the US. If I wanted to, just in all seriousness, I make this joke once in a while, and it's half joke and half true. You could live easily. A Western man could live easily in Bangkok, let's say, for $1,000 a month, $300 a month for rent for a reasonably nice condo, not huge, but 300 square feet with a queen size bed and a swimming pool and a gym in the complex. Maybe not the best location, but not a bad location, just a little further out from the center. And then $300 a month for food, you can easily eat for $10 a day. Eat for $5 a day if you push it, but $10 a day, sure, you're eating reasonably well at $10 a day. So that's 300 and 300, that's 600. There are other 400 hookers. Okay, so, boom, choosh. Okay, so we lost you, Warren? I don't think you lost me. I think the stream health is fine. Stream is healthy. I think somebody might have lost me, but it wasn't me. Why no factory in Iceland? Yeah, no factory in Iceland. The V12 FSD AI-based system showed significant improvement, but incremental improvements will be much slower from now on. No, that's wrong. Incremental improvements will be faster. Number one, the updates are coming faster. The having the extra compute and having the more data and having the better model means the improvements are accelerating. At least for now. It's a stacked log curve. It's going up. It may flatten at some point, but it's not flattened yet. Ismail says, high hopes for Giga Texas. Yes. Paul Sackoff, 77 years old, put my driving curve onto FSD's driving curve where the two curves cross was the most interesting point to me. Yeah. FSD value truly unlocks when supervision is no longer mandated. I think that the first unlock is when they say you have to sit in the driver's seat, but you don't have to pay attention. Like I've said this many times before. There's really, the current situation where you have to supervise it and it prompts you to pay attention and it bugs you to keep your hands on the wheel and stuff like that. The next levels would say you need to sit in the driver's seat and be ready to take over, but you don't have to pay attention anymore. The nags are gone. That's a pretty big jump. And not long after that, it's you can sit in the back seat or you don't have to be in the car. It's in Tesla's best interest to not sell FSD outright. They need to sell it as a monthly subscription. Take rate will be higher. I don't know whether that makes the take rate higher or not. I think the Tesla team is doing the best they can to figure that out. I don't think they're that motivated by money, and they are motivated by getting more data. I think they get a lot of data in the cars in shadow mode anyway, so I don't know how necessary it is to have people paying for beta. I'm not sure how that works. I don't fully understand. That's a James Dalma question. Will lack of consumer awareness of Tesla seriously hinder the sales in the next 3 to 4 years? There's no lack of consumer awareness of Tesla. That's a myth that the Barry Glack crowd likes to tell people. Tesla's the number one brand. You got Kim Kardashian posting pictures of herself in her Cybertruck. All kinds of celebrities posting videos and pictures of themselves with Cybertruck. There's no lack of consumer awareness. People are excited about Tesla. When the Super Bowl commercials happen, with all the other car companies publish EV commercials, Tesla's website got to jump in traffic because people associate EVs with Tesla. Tesla has a massive brand. Do I believe Tesla will run the robotaxi themselves or work with independent operators or partner with an Uber? I don't think they're going to partner with Uber. I think they might partner with Hertz. I do believe Tesla will have their own robotaxi fleet. I think that's the best way for them to do it. but I do think they will also partner with fleets, and Hertz would make a lot of sense because they have a lot of resources to enable servicing of robotaxis. Hi, Gator. Are you concerned about some of the negativity around Cybertruck? No, I'm seeing only positives. I mean, Kim Kardashian reaching millions of people showing off pictures of Cybertruck. There's lots of celebrities who are showing off their Cybertruck, and there's a lot of positive response. And there's some morons out there who are saying problems with Cybertruck. Cybertruck is awesome, and I hopefully will get mine in less than a year. I'm one of the early orders, but I'm not paying for Foundation Series. It's probably a competition between. So Derwin, you're nailing it. You're nailing it, Derwin. I was going to say this. It's probably a competition between design teams in Texas, Shanghai, and Berlin. I don't think there's a big design team in Berlin. I do think there's a chance that they've decided on a competition between the China team and not just the design team, the manufacturing team, to see who can get a quality production line up and running sooner. And the China team will win. Thank you, LJ. Mr. Sewenadwijan says Tesla will have to compete with Uber for taxi business. How does Tesla make money on that? Well, that's really simple. Uber has to pay drivers, and Tesla doesn't. Uber is currently selling rides for $3 a mile. Tesla will be able to sell rides for $2.50 a mile, make massive profits, and no one will ride in an Uber. And women won't have to worry about riding with a strange man, and people won't have to feel awkward about whether they're going to tip or not. You won't be rating the driver. I don't see why people think Uber has any chance in this competition at all. I don't understand why Uber is valued. I think it's like a $200 billion market cap. Other people have said Tesla should buy Uber. Why would they pay $250 billion for a company they don't need when they could buy Lyft for like $10 billion? What does Uber have that Lyft doesn't have? I don't think they have anything. The amount of maybe there's some valuable data in there somewhere, but Lyft has almost as much data. The similar quality data. The amount of data gathered from the free month of FSD will be mind-boggling. I don't know how many people are taking up the free month. That's the question I don't know. I think robotaxi is a thinner stainless steel. Tom said paint is expensive. It saves on factory space. It drops repair costs dramatically. I talked to Franz about whether Tesla would make another stainless steel vehicle back at the Plaid event, and he said that I'm not saying it's impossible that they would do stainless steel, but he did say that it's different. And also, when they talked about the unbox process for manufacturing the next generation vehicle, they specifically talked about paint, and that paint would cost less because they wouldn't be painting things that don't need to be painted the way they're doing the unbox process. So I don't think that's it. And repair costs won't matter as much if the cars don't crash. What is emulate mode? Not emulate mode, shadow mode. I don't know what emulate mode is. There's a shadow mode when the car's driving, the chip is still processing and picking up and learning from data. Thank you, Judy. Jiffer says shadow mode is only passive database. We can't make scenario. No, the car can predict what's going to happen. The car can predict what it would do and see the results and decide whether it made a good decisions. I think a lot of that stuff can happen on shadow mode. And maybe some additional advantage on full FSD, but I think they still get a lot of useful data in shadow mode. How much money will Tesla make licensing FSD to OEMs? What does a licensing deal look like? So I don't think that the OEMs are going to be licensing FSD. I think the most likely candidate to license FSD is BYD. BYD is an EV company. The regular legacy auto companies are backing off making electric and going to hybrid, and Elon is probably not going to license FSD to hybrids. He's only going to license FSD to full-on EVs. So I could see Elon partnering with BYD because BYD is already a partner. People think BYD is Tesla's competition. BYD is a partner. By the way, pod car update. I think I figured out that the pod car will use BYD blade batteries for a structural battery. Just a thought. I was actually working on that today. I am closer. I'm going to be a personal update. I have decided to stay in Bangkok. We are working on finding a place to live, and hopefully we'll be hiring once we lock into a place to live, which would probably be in May. Then where we're long term in a place, then I will start working on hiring my first engineer to build pod car. Pod car, for those who don't know, is my plan to build a single passenger electric vehicle that should only cost $1,000 to manufacture and be able to offer extremely low cost rides to compete with Grab Bike, which is like Uber with motorcycles, and you hop on the back of a motorcycle and hold on for dear life with no helmet. And I think we can make life a lot safer in a place like Thailand if we replace Grab Bike with Podcar robotaxi. So what about Tesla? $3 billion cash flow for the last year. When will Tesla start making profits from selling cars again? As far as I know, Tesla has been profitable has had positive cash flow. I'm not sure what you're referring to. 472 water. How much money will? Oh, so right. Then I don't. The money they would make from licensing deals. If they're currently charging us $12,000 a car, presumably they would charge the other car company $12,000 a car, and the other car company could mark it up to 15. Cybertruck's initial reservation price was 39K, but now the cheapest is 99. No, the cheapest Cybertruck, the early price for the 39K was the single motor rear wheel drive Cybertruck. And that should be, if they follow through with it, that should be like 2027 maybe. And that will be like 62K, not 99K. Would you happen to know what the reservation conversion rate for Cybertruck is? My guess is 10%. Listen, I didn't convert yet. I haven't lost my place in line, but I decided not to get a Foundation Series Cybertruck because I don't want to pay an extra 20,000 for the truck. I want to get the tax credit. The benefits that you get from Foundation Series aren't really a benefit to me because I already paid my FSD price is going to be lower than what they're pricing into the Foundation Series, and some of the features that come with Foundation Series are not useful in Asia. So I still don't know if I'm going to be able to get Cybertruck and bring it to Thailand. By the way, I think I posted the video. I went to a Cybertruck event in Bangkok 2 days ago and published a video. I don't know. What was that? About 50 hours ago or something like that. DM says, I think we will see at least 4,000 share price by 2030 if robotaxi launches this year. Listen, whenever they launch robotaxi, when they launch it doesn't matter as much. What matters is how many vehicles they have available at the time. So it's about manufacturing robotaxis in volume. And if you manufacture them and then they come out later, the software isn't ready till later. It doesn't matter. As long as you have the vehicles out there, boom, you're good. Stylish vinyl wrap at the fingerprint zone on Cybertruck is a good idea. I don't really have an opinion on wraps versus stainless steel. I don't care if it has fingerprints on it. The one that the event had a couple fingerprints on it, I still thought it looked awesome. Do I think Elon Musk cares much less about shareholder value creation? I think Elon Musk cares about the mission to accelerate the transition to sustainable energy and do your best you can to make sure that the future is good, to increase the probability that the future is good. And the shareholder value will follow. Rather than focusing on share price, focus on making great products, on making the world a better place, and the share price will the shareholder value creation will follow. Eric Mulder says Elon looked very relaxed, amazing his ability to switch context so quickly. Friday announcing new robotaxi world on Earth. Yesterday laying out the path to becoming a multi-planet species. Yeah, I'll be talking about Starship later in this video. I think we're getting close to that moment, but I'm still looking at the chat. Yeah, I think BYD licensing would be a big deal too. Oh, hi, Olang from Malaysia. I was just in Malaysia. By the way, I've been seeing more. I don't think I have the picture ready. I saw two Model Ys. There's a charging, like a third-party charging setup in a mall called Major at Ratchayotin, for those of you who know Bangkok, not too far from Chatuchak Park, and a little bit north of Chatuchak Park, I think. And I walk through there occasionally. I don't even know why I've been there before. I'm staying there currently for just a few more days, about a week total. And I was walking through that area, and first time I saw Teslas at that spot. Olang says, Warren, you can consider living in Kuala Lumpur. It's almost as cheap as Bangkok, and many people speak good English. We just visited Kuala Lumpur. I decided to stay in Bangkok. Kuala Lumpur, for those who don't know, is a really nice city, has a lot going for it. Better green space. I believe the rents are lower, but the food prices are higher. The restaurant prices are higher. You can get amazing prices for food in Bangkok and Thailand generally. And the temperature is actually a couple degrees cooler, Celsius degrees cooler in Kuala Lumpur and Penang, even though they're much farther south because they have, I guess, better breezes or something. Licensing to FSD to BYD is not risky. If you're going to get $12,000 a car for licensing to BYD, what's the risk there? Stainless steel plus wrap is less expensive than paint. That's a fair point. I don't know how much it costs to paint. Would cost to paint a Cybertruck. We'll be able to order a vehicle on August 8th. We don't know that. Yes, BYD does sell hybrids, but they also sell full battery electric. Eventually, the stock price will follow Mark Potocznik exactly. Of course, Elon cares about. No, he doesn't care about the share price. I mean, yeah, he cares on the side point. He does want to burn the shorts. But do you think consumer pressure will get politicians to allow Chinese models at a cheap price? The Japanese did it. No, I don't think consumer pressure will do that. No. When are we going to get dividends? I don't care. Oh, Mark Potashnik says there's a Falcon 9 launch Sunday, April 7th, 6:16 p.m. I'm assuming that's Eastern time from Kennedy Space Center. Elon wants all the Tesla employees to be able to buy stock. That's the extent he cares about the stock. When is robotaxi coming, Warren? And why hasn't Elon sued Thunderfoot because he called Elon a fraud? I think if you're going to sue somebody, you have to be able to show that they damaged you in some meaningful way. And I think it's hard to do that. And, it's not worth the effort of chasing somebody like Thunderfoot, I guess. When is robotaxi coming? August 8th. We're gonna get an update on August 8th right here. We're gonna get an update on that on August 8th. I don't know. When is Elon gonna get paid though? Elon's gonna be okay. I think that they'll work out some sort of compensation package with him, but we'll figure that out later. Okay, so wanted to move on. Covered that. Covered that. Just briefly, I made a joke on X and I thought it was really funny, so I'm going to share it with you. That Tesla is introducing the Model 3 Performance, and it's going to be a Hemi hybrid. It's a partnership with Dodge. This is a joke. This is a joke. It's a partnership with Dodge. So it's got a Hemi in it, and it's a hybrid, and I made a whole bunch of other jokes about it. And some people actually believed it was true. I do April Fool's jokes, and people think I'm late on my April Fool's jokes. No, I'm early. I was going to do the joke next year, but I decided to move it up. So I'm not late on April Fool's. I'm early on next April Fool's. Okay, I just thought that was hilarious. So I covered the Dragon. I covered the FSD miles driven. So let's turn to Starship. Let's see. So I thought the food in Kuala Lumpur was absolutely stunning, Ismail. The food in Kuala Lumpur and the food in Penang was good. I would almost argue the food was better. But if you want to eat good food cheap, Bangkok kicks butt. Anton Cardon says, "Have you been to see Pui Roti Lady yet? How's the humidity? It's hot and humid in Bangkok, only 370 days a year. I don't know who Pui Roti Lady is. I can't answer that question. Um, maybe I had like this amazing Indian meal in Kuala Lumpur. Like almost every meal I had in Kuala Lumpur was amazing. The food we ate in Penang was amazing. Penang is a beach island city in the northwestern corner of Malaysia, not very far from Thailand. The concern I have about Malaysia, just so people know, is I am Jewish and I post things on X that are pro-Israel. And one of the biggest concerns I have, the big concern I have is my girlfriend is from Bangkok. Her mother lives in Bangkok. If we're going to have children, I want to live near her family. I think that just makes sense. But one of the other big concerns I have is on X, I will post things that are pro-Israel, things that are critical of the Arabs, whatever. And the Malaysian government is very, very, very anti-Israel, pretty arguably anti-Semitic. There aren't very many Jews living in Malaysia, at least not openly. I don't think that's a good place for me. Even though the weather's great, the food is great, cost of living is great. What are my thoughts on how 4680 production is progressing? 4680 is going great. Drew talked about it, I think, at the last earnings call, that their ramp is ahead of Cybertruck and they're storing up batteries for future vehicle programs, whatever that means. I think Tesla van might be coming. Seems to me like CATL may have better battery options in larger quantities. CATL is a battery supplier to Tesla. But the CATL batteries are largely lithium iron phosphate, which is not appropriate for Model S, Model X, Model 3 Performance, Model 3 Long Range, Model Y Long Range, Model Y Performance. There are vehicles Tesla makes where CATL's batteries just aren't the right option. So, but I do think that Tesla will be using a lot of lithium iron phosphate batteries, and a lot of them will come from CATL and BYD. Dave Bohm says if they postpone the 25K because they used the money which was reserved for Mexico for compute power, they have plenty of money. There's no money issue. There's no money. They're not delaying for money. Thai food is kosher. I have shrimp and pork in my Thai food, so I don't think Thai food is that kosher. How many flights do you think will be all robots before they allow humans? Flights? Oh, Starship. We'll talk about Starship in a minute. Did you have nasi lemak in Malay? First meal was nasi lemak. I didn't like nasi lemak as much as some of the other things I ate. I've had it before also. So, all right, let's turn to Starship. So Elon did a presentation on basically how we're going to get to Mars and the future of SpaceX, and it was really good. And I recommend going to his to the SpaceX X account and watching the video. It's around 40, 50 minutes long. If you go to Elon's account, I think he may have quote posted Farzad did a video that sort of cut out the Farzad has been doing this thing on YouTube, and I think he does it on X as well. So I think he did it on X, where he's got a guy named David Carbut, and they go through the videos and they cut out the pauses and they cut out maybe some irrelevant stuff, and they'll take a 15-minute video and turn it into a 35-minute video or something like that. And they also improve the sound quality. So, kudos to Farzad for doing that. I would encourage you to check out Farzad's Twitter account, X account, excuse me. Ismail, yeah, no, and Ian Miles Chong has apparently caught some heat for the things he posts from Malaysia. So I watched the whole video about Starship. I wanted to hit some new. By the way, Elon liked this post. There's a two-part post. There's this page and there's another page of it. Elon actually liked this post. That's a good sign that I nailed some things. So I just wanted to stress that. So let me make this a little bigger for me. Okay. So soon it's one of the key highlights. So there's a lot of stuff in the video that if you're a junkie like me, you already seen that, you already knew that. And like the first thing I tried to point out things that were new that maybe we didn't know before. And this is the first one is kind of he's hinted at it, but I think he gave more specs than we've had before. He basically said that at some point in the near, not too distant future, Starship will be about 10 meters taller. 10 meters is about 33 feet taller. He has said before it would be taller. They would make it bigger, but I don't think he gave a specific before. And he said 10 meters, and I don't think he said 10 meters before. So that's interesting, and I believe that's a lot of that is payload. So that creates a lot more cargo volume. That's important. He gave some other specific specs about. I didn't go into depth on when he gave specific specs. I did mention it here: 200 tons of payload. There's some other specs that he gave more depth on, and again, I encourage watching it. But I was trying to hit sort of the points that I think people who aren't absolute rocket nerds will get some value out of. So this is kind of big. So they're doing Flight 4 next month, May, which we kind of already knew. He said that already. If the super heavy booster does well on Flight 4, as in it comes back and it lands in the Gulf of Mexico and it does what's called a virtual tower landing. In other words, they have it fly as if it's landing in the Mechazilla Tower. And if it performs nominally, as in if it performs as it's supposed to, then the next flight, so Flight 5, they will bring the booster back to the launch pad and try to land it and get caught by the Mechazilla. They have the tower has arms, and the arms will come together and catch the booster as it comes down. And that, if they're able to do that, it makes reuse really rapid because it's basically right back on the pad. So then the arms go up, come over, come down, pick up a Starship and put it on, and you just refill the booster and you're ready to launch the next Starship. And they will have more Starships, more second stages, than they will have super heavy boosters. Philip, I'm officially live in Florida. I'm spending a lot of time in Bangkok. I'm working on getting a visa. I'm basically a digital nomad and I travel, and Bangkok is sort of a base of operations and will be base of operations. But, probably going to go to Japan soon. Probably going to go to the Philippines soon. I'm probably going to go to Cambodia very soon, like the end of this month. That's part of the process of getting the visa. So the plan is to bring the booster back to the launch pad, possibly on Flight 5, maybe more likely Flight 6. So high probability of achieving this and actually having it work by the end of 2024. I think he said 80 to 90% chance of success. When Elon says 80 to 90% chance of success, that's like, Elon usually says things to have like a 50% chance at best or 10% chance. If he thinks 80 to 90% likely to succeed, that's really good. Julius Jonke says, I canceled my Model 3 order once I actually tried to sit in one. I'm 78 and 6'5" and have bad knees. It was impossible for me. So Model Y. Yeah, if you're tall, now 6'5" is rare, right? That's less than 1% of the population. So that's not necessarily the deal breaker. But 6'1", 6'2", even as a 6-footer, it can be hard for people. And then if you're overweight and out of shape, etc. Eric Mulder brings this up about Starship, and I don't think I have that really in my list. I didn't think it was completely new. He said Raptor 3 looks amazing. Much of the complexity moved to internal. Yeah, if you watch the video, they have a display showing model Raptor 1, Raptor 2, and Raptor 3, and it's amazing how cool Raptor 3 looks. And they also have a video of Raptor 3 doing a test burn. I don't know if Raptor 3, I don't think Raptor 3 is on the current, I don't think they're using Raptor 3 for Flight 4 yet. I don't know. So anyway, sorry, going ahead. Regarding the first stage, they're going to try to bring that back, maybe flight 5 or flight 6. With Starship, the second stage, that goes up into space. They're going to try to bring it back, um, and get it to do virtual tower landings. I think in the Indian Ocean is the plan. And their plan is to, according to Elon, they need to do at least 2 successful virtual tower landings, as in it performs nominally as it tries to land, right? And the next flight will not do that. Flight 4, they're not going to do that. Flight 4 is just, it's going to smack into the Indian Ocean. They're not even going to try to land it. So um, they're not trying that on flight 4. So flight 5 and 6 conceivably, they try to bring the Starship into the atmosphere, try to do a flip maneuver, and try to get it to do a virtual tower landing. So that would be flights 5 and 6. If those were successful, then flight 7, they could try to bring it back to a launch pad. And my guess is that's too optimistic. That's, I said, the earliest conceivable. So more likely they're not going to bring Starship back to land at a launch pad until flight 8 or 9. And that might take us outside 2024 into 2025. I would say probably not going to happen until 2025. But that's, again, that's what takes us to massive reusability and rapid reusability, is if you can bring both of them back to the launch pad, caught by the Mechazilla, and put back up and refilled and flown again, and you can fly the same day, multiple times the same day. That's amazing. So I did mention Raptor 3 in my list. Raptor 3 was substantially improved from Raptor 2 in many ways, but there's no mention of it. Someday somebody's going to ask Elon about this, and he might actually answer, but nobody's asked him about it yet. There's no mention of the 1337, also known as LEAT engine, which is the rocket engine that they were working on that was probably going to replace Raptor, and it's unclear. Some new technology rocket engine. Are they going forward with the LEAT engine? Is the LEAT engine dead? Is Raptor? I mean, the Raptor numbers are turning out to be amazing, so it may be that Raptor's enough. But my gut is Elon's never satisfied, and they're working on another engine that's going to be even more amazing than Raptor. Long-term cost, as Elon said, long-term cost of a single launch should reach $2 million to $3 million. He said 2 million before, so 3 million is a little bit of an increase. Who knows? With 200 tons of payload, which he has said they're targeting 200 tons of payload reusable, which would be the 2 million to 3 million cost. If you lose the second stage, your cost goes up dramatically. That's $10 to $15 a kilogram. And if you go back, Falcon 9 has been estimated to cost about $1,000 a kilogram to get a payload into low Earth orbit. I think maybe with all the improvements they've made in Falcon 9, they're probably below 1,000 to like 900 or 800 for their own internal launches of Starlink, maybe. But $1,000 a kilogram is a good ballpark. And before SpaceX, the cost was about $10,000 a kilogram. So if they're able to go from $10,000 a kilogram before SpaceX to $10 a kilogram with Starship, that's a thousandfold increase, or and thousandfold improvement in the launch cost of launching payloads into space. And that just changes everything about what we do in space in so many different ways. Vital Rights says, Podcar, you may want to contact Elon or Ilio and their 2-seater electric. So mine's a 1-seater. I've seen lots of people who have lots of startups and others who have prototypes, and I haven't seen anybody doing what I'm doing with Podcar. That's a long, long conversation, not for this video. Raptor 3 is the octo valve of engines. I like that, Robert. Yeah, thank you, Mark Plot. Thank you, Mark Potocnik, for supporting me and moderating the chat. Take rate of FSD will skyrocket with the 25K car. I want to address this. This is from Melissa. She says, take rate of FSD will skyrocket with the release of 25K car. People will be able to afford FSD with a cheaper car. So first of all, I don't hear Tesla talking about a 25K car anymore. They talked about 25K car at Battery Day. The last I heard them talk about cost was Drew Baglino saying half the cost of the Model 3Y platform. If it's half the cost, then it'll be half the price. You can buy a Model 3 for under $40,000. So half the price of a Model 3 would be under $20,000. And I think it's even lower than that in China. So it's 50,000 here in Thailand, by the way. And EV enthusiast, digital nomad, and hopeless romantic. I don't know if I'm that romantic. I just want kids, and I am pretty romantically inclined towards my girlfriend, I suppose. Do I like the design of Starship 3V? I don't know what 3V means. Oh, you think there's a new version of Mechazilla arms coming? I think that's possible. Didn't SpaceX buy an old oil rig? I don't know whether they're going forward with the oil rigs. I heard they ditched that, but I don't know what's going on with that. 99% of payload deliveries worldwide once Starship is operational. Yeah, I don't know if it's 99%, but it's going to be pretty close. It's not payload deliveries, it's mass to orbit. They're approaching 90% of global mass to orbit now. So Starship just so radically improves the amount of payload they're delivering to orbit. Yeah. Matthew says, in my opinion, 1337 engine might be for getting Starship out beyond our solar system. I don't think so. I think the challenge would be, do you want the trip to Mars to take 6 months or 3 months? You can make the trip to Mars in 3 months instead. You're going to get 18 months on the planet. But if you do is the way the plan is now, if you can make the trip in 3 months instead of 6 months, and you're going to make the trip back in 3 months instead of 6 months, then you might be able to get more time on Mars before you come back. And also the burden on the passengers of being able to get to Mars in 3 months instead of 6 months, being stuck in a tin can for 6 months is going to kind of suck. Legimix says, my wife got an offer for a month trial of FSD. She said she's scared. I don't think there's anything to be scared about. Just, it's like teaching a teenager to drive, only it's better than that. And you get to sit in the driver's seat, have your hands on the wheel and your foot on the brake pedal, and you can intervene a lot quicker than you can with a teenager. And honestly, you won't be intervening that much. Yesterday, SpaceX launched 6 more cellular capable satellites. What is their use for? So if I have a T-Mobile phone, currently the deal is with T-Mobile. It'll probably expand. If you have a T-Mobile phone and you're anywhere in the world and you have no cell signal, but you need to get a text message to somebody or maybe make a phone call, the cell phone will be able to communicate via satellite with the network. It'll reach up to the cell capable satellites, and there will be a lot of them in orbit. And that will make it possible to you're not going to download YouTube videos, you're not going to upload YouTube videos through this connection, but you will be able to have some level of communication. So if you're on the top of a mountain, if you're lost somewhere in the middle of nowhere, as long as you can get access to the sky, you'll be able to communicate via satellite and let people know where you are. The best car to own is no car. Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. We'll come back to this in a second. I want to stress this, that the future that I see, and I think Elon sees this, I think Elon has said this at certain points in the past, the future that I see for a robotaxi world is that most people won't own cars. If you're wealthy and you want to own a car, you'll be able to own a car, just like today, wealthy people can own horses. And some people own horses even if they're not wealthy. But the vast majority of people don't bother owning horses anymore because we have cars. And if we go to a world with robotaxi, and the price of a robotaxi ride drops below 70 cents a mile in the United States and Europe, that ballpark, then it ends up being cheaper to ride robotaxis than it does to own a car. And if the price of robotaxi rides is cheaper than owning a car, why would you own a car? There's so many advantages to riding a robotaxi. It's like you're going to the mall. You go to the mall on a busy day, then you got to park, 500 yards, 400 yards away, 300, 400 meters away, and you got to walk in. And maybe it's raining and maybe it's snowing and it's icy or whatever. If you're in a robotaxi, it drops you off at the front door, picks you up at the front door. You don't have to scrape the ice off the car. You don't have to get into a hot car. You never have to take it to a car wash. You never have to change the tires. There's all these things. You probably spend 20 hours a year dealing with the burden of ownership of a car. And all of a sudden you don't have to deal with that. So it saves you time and it saves you money. Like, why are you owning a car? And it's only if you're wealthy that you're going to own cars. I see the recent FSD 30-day free offers to feed the FSD training engine. I don't know for sure that that's the reason, but it's a good chance. I think they may feel it's so good that more people will pay for FSD once they experience it. I think that's a much more likely thing than they're trying to feed data into the machine. Is Tesla missing an opportunity by not producing a mini truck Maverick Santa Cruz based on Model 3? Tesla does not tend to make vehicles to fit a segment based on something that's not really appropriate for that segment. So I think there's a chance that Tesla will build a pickup truck based on the next generation vehicle platform for a market like, so the Maverick Santa Cruz Ford Ranger size pickup truck is not very popular in the United States or Canada. Somewhat more popular in Australia. Ranger is super popular in Thailand. So building a smaller pickup truck in Thailand could be a big hit. And for those who don't know, Thailand is the second largest pickup truck market in the world. Malaysia is also a reasonably big pickup truck market, and Malaysia's next door to Thailand. And Australia is not far. And Vietnam buys some pickup trucks. So there's a lot of opportunity. Not many, but some. I think Indonesia buys some pickup trucks, a big country. So yeah, I mean, I don't have a car here in Thailand. I just live near a transit system stop and just use that. Just worry about how clean the robotaxi will be with all the riders and maybe no one cleaning them. Well, why would you think no one would clean them? Someone will clean them. I think the answer to that problem is that there's going to be a camera inside the car. And if I was designing the app, I would say when you get in the car, take a picture before you get in to show that it's clean, and take a picture when you get out of the car to show that it's clean. And if somebody complains, hey, the car's not clean, they go back and they look at the pictures and they decide which rider made the car unclean, and they bill that person for it. And if he doesn't pay the bill, then he doesn't get to ride a robotaxi again until he deals with it. So I think they can. I think there's people have had these ideas of problems. And it's like, well, why wouldn't that be a problem? I mean, New York City taxis aren't very clean all the time. People ride them. I rode in the New York City subway recently. There was somebody had urinated on the seat. I mean, I think we're probably not going to have too much urine on the seats in the robo taxis, but if somebody pees on the seat, you report it, then the last guy in the car is going to pay for it, and then they'll stop doing that. What's Warren's interpretation with the unveil tweet? Will it be a $25,000 consumer car that owners can rent out for robotaxi soon, or a $25,000 robotaxi much later reserved and operated by Tesla only? So the unveil tweet is they're going to show us something on August 8th. What they're going to show us, I don't know. I think they're going to show us more the factory than the car. I think the factory is actually more important than the car. But I think they may only show the robotaxi version of the vehicle and not show the consumer car. If they show the consumer car, then maybe they're Osborning the Model 3 and the Model Y. I don't know. I don't think it's a $25,000 car. I think it's a $20,000 or less car because it's half the cost of the 3 and Y, according to Drew Baglino. So if it's half the cost of the 3 and Y, well, you can buy a 3 for under $40,000. So it should be under $20,000. And yet, Optimus could clean them. When it goes to the charger, you could have people staffing the chargers to clean them. If you have Hertz owning a fleet, then Hertz already has a business of cleaning cars. If it's a report that the car's unclean, the car drives itself to the cleaner, gets cleaned, and goes back out into service. Can I make an update napkin math for 2030 to 2035 based on FSD and Optimus? My napkin math hasn't changed. Just go back in my videos and look for, my reports, my estimates. I mean, it's really simple. The FSD thing is 10 million robo taxis making a $50,000 a year gross profit each. You get to $500 billion a year in gross profit. And if it comes anywhere close to true, then, any shareholders can be thrilled as hell. And long term, 100 million robo taxis making $20,000 a year in gross profit instead of 50,000. You're talking $2 trillion a year in gross profit, and it's all insane. And Optimus, the numbers just get crazy really fast too. Olang says in the Malaysia Tesla Model 3 starting 40,000 US dollars, Mercedes C200 61,000. Yeah. Yeah, Tesla makes one category killer per model. They don't make a knockoff of something else and sell it to fill a segment. We're going to make a car. We're going to make something really awesome for that segment. I do believe the next generation vehicle platform, is going to be designed to be able to make variants. So we'll see about that. Okay, so let's get back to Starship. Covered Raptor 3. Long-term cost of launch we covered. Starlink now has, so they reported Starlink now has 2.7 million customers, and that Starlink revenue is funding SpaceX and Starship operations, other operations besides Starlink. So it probably means that Starlink is significantly profitable already, and that money is being used to fund Starship development, which is awesome. At $1,000 a year, 2.7 million customers would be $2.7 billion a year in revenue. Just a fair chunk of revenue. Not mentioned, Starship will unlock much larger and more capable next generation version 2 satellites, which will greatly expand capacity to serve more customers at far lower launch costs and far higher profit. So the V2 satellites are much larger, they're much more capable. They're able to serve a lot more customers per satellite. You've got a certain number of slots in orbit. So if you go from a less capable satellite to a more capable satellite, we're talking like probably 5 or 10x the capacity, right? Well, when you replace all the vehicles, all the satellites in orbits, you're like 10xing the capacity of the network. And your launch cost of launching a V2 satellite is dramatically lower than the launch cost of a version 1 satellite because Starship's launch cost is so much lower than Falcon 9's launch cost. They did say there's a lot of lasers on this. I didn't mention that. They did give some number of how many lasers are in operation on these satellites, and it's a big number. So let me pop this one out. Pop to the next one. Moon starships will return to Earth orbit, but will not re-enter the Earth atmosphere or land on Earth. I think we kind of knew this, but I don't remember for sure. So they will return to Earth orbit for refilling, but will not re-enter Earth atmosphere or land on Earth. So they won't need fins or heat shield. They won't need fins or a heat shield for landing on the moon. They won't be re-entering the Earth's atmosphere, so that saves weight. It makes it easier for a Starship to do moon missions and carry more mass to moon. Yeah, Mark Potocznik says Starlink saves the day in the Philippines. It's not available in Thailand yet. Government needs to wake up. So if you watch my Gwynne Shotwell video or you watched the original interview, Gwynne Shotwell talked about how Ukraine's government was resisting Starlink, and then the war broke out. And then all of a sudden, Ukraine's government wanted Starlink. And the answer is a lot of governments are in bed with special interests, or they're more responsive to special interests than they are to the interests of their people. And there are internet providers who don't want competition from Starlink in every country, and they usually have a lot of political power. And if voters actually figured out that governments aren't really interested in the welfare of their people, then they would do something about this, but they don't. Um, Tesla fan says, I imagine in urban environments they will just build really tall parking lots just for Tesla charging cars. Is that the infrastructure you're imagining too? No. There are already a lot of parking lots. Parking lots will become irrelevant in the robotaxi world. There will be supercharger stations, and they will simply tell the cars, the network will decide which car should come in and charge when. And a car that's not charging will be out of the way somewhere else. Probably being positioned for its next ride or being positioned to be close to the supercharger, come in for charging. Mm. Al says, heard a while ago about a Tesla robotaxi on a small bus platform for non-Western countries. Thoughts on this? Yeah, that's in the master plan part two. Um, I'm guessing something like a 12. I think there was actually somebody who said like a 12 passenger vehicle. I think it might be more like, up to 20 passengers, depending on what market you're in. Um, but not even a small bus, but maybe like a large van. So that because you're eliminating the center aisle, you're able to squeeze more people in the seats. So, okay. So I said Elon sounds batshit crazy when he says this, but he's talking about building thousands of starships a year. He's probably serious and not crazy. Now, he explained building thousands of starships might sound crazy, but we're building millions of cars. And it's easier to build thousands of starships than it is to build millions of cars. It's a fair point. They're aiming to build 20 million cars, 2,000 starships a year. That's chump change compared to 20 million cars. He was clear about this. They kind of said this before, but this is the clearest I think he's been about this. There will be 2 Mechazilla launch towers at Starbase Texas, primarily for test launches. And there'll be 2 more at Cape Canaveral, Florida, primarily for operational launches. All 4 towers should be complete by the middle of 2025. I did not mention in this list that he also talked about offshore launch pads in the future. I still think that they should find islands to base them on because that makes it a lot easier to have extra resources on the islands. Of course, they know what they're doing. I don't have smarter than Elon disease. My guess is that they know what they're doing, and there's a reason why they're doing it the way they're doing it. But I would think finding islands that are reasonably near key cities and then running hyperloop tunnels or tunnels from the cities to the launch pad makes it easier to do earth to earth or easier to do cargo if you're doing that. Okay. So all 4 towers should be complete by the middle of 2025. Pretty impressive. Most starships that land on Mars will be, this is something I'd never heard before. Most starships that land on Mars will be disassembled so that the materials can be used on Mars. But there's valuable material. They want to build, a colony. Hey, look at all this steel. Let's use it. They're not going to have a steel mill on Mars right away. So let's take advantage of the materials that they've got on the ship. And it's not recycling, but it's reuse. It's not bad. And there'll still be a few starships that fly back to Earth because some of the people on Mars will want to go back to Earth. And Starship, this isn't new, but Starship should be able to fly back to Earth without a booster. So you refill it with propellant manufactured on Mars from, again, this is not new, but using the Sabatier process, you take CO2 from the Martian atmosphere, you take water from the Martian soil, you put them together with solar power, and you're able to generate CH4, methane, and oxygen, liquid oxygen, and you're able to fill Starship and have it come back. And it doesn't need a booster in order to be able to get to the delta V to be able to come back to Earth. It doesn't have to go through a thick atmosphere. It doesn't have to fight against as much gravity to get off Mars as it does get off Earth. That's why. First time I've heard him say that Mars colony might use nuclear power, but it sounds like the holdup is getting government approval for this. It's not government approval for operating nuclear power plants on Mars. It's government approval for launching nuclear materials from Earth, because if you have an accident with your launch, you may be spreading toxic radioactive material on humans, and governments tend not to like that unless they do it. They don't like the private sector doing it. They like doing it themselves. It's our job. Ismail says Starship is the biggest rocket in space, and it's a U.S. rocket, so it represents a very, very big stick to the adversary countries. Hope this image doesn't worry them. It is true that Starship vastly improves the American military's capability of delivering payloads around the planet in ballpark 30 minutes, sometimes less. And payloads could be Marines, could be logistics support, could be nuclear weapons. Who knows? When robotaxi? What year? I heard 2023. So we don't know when robotaxi goes live, right? We're going to hear a lot more on August 8th. So that's what when you say that's what Elon's brother said. Did you hear him say it, or did you hear somebody say he said it? Because I didn't hear him say it. I don't know what exactly he said. I don't think he said what you think he said. You keep on using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. The landing area on Mars, the place for the colony, will be roughly 40 degrees latitude. So maybe closer to the equator, but roughly halfway between the equator and the poles. The poles are too cold. The poles don't get enough. I think the poles don't get enough direct sunlight, and so you need solar panels to generate electricity. And then also, I guess Martian surface, there's places that are more than, I think it was more than a kilometer, maybe more than 2 kilometers below the equivalent of sea level, or whatever the average level is. And the lower you get on Mars, the thicker the atmosphere is. That makes it easier to slow down the Starship. And there's other advantages to being in those spots. So that's what they're going for. And it may also be close to key resources. Okay. Starship can make a lot of beer. I don't know about that. Elon mentioned something about making the horse first before making the cart. Oh, so there was talk about all the different things that'll be necessary for the Martian colony. And Elon said, "We're not designing all these things yet. We gotta get the transport system to Mars before we worry about all those details." They have regular meetings to talk about what the Martian colony is going to be like, and so I'm sure that they've had conversations about those things, but I don't think they're researching it as much. Thank you, 472 Water. Love you guys too. I bet Elon goes on stage with robotaxi prototype. Man, that seems likely. If they said a reveal of the robotaxi, then they're gonna have one on stage. Yes, I think that's likely. Solar panels orbiting the Earth like a Dyson sphere for energy. Good idea. No, no. Elon has said he doesn't believe in solar and space to power Earth. You want solar and space to power things in space. But the advantage of having solar panels in space versus having solar panels on Earth is not that great. You can generate plenty of solar power through solar panels on Earth, and you don't need that much space on Earth. So there's not that much advantage of putting panels in space and beaming the energy down. But anything you do in space can support more stuff in space. The goal isn't go to space to help Earth. The goal is go into space to help humanity expand into space. Do you think there's room for Tesla battery to be meaningfully improved over the next decade in terms of charging capacity, time to recharge? People complain about current charging times. So I think electric vehicle batteries in general, and lithium-ion batteries and other batteries, are consistently undergoing improvements. Probably something like 2, 3, 5% a year in terms of things like energy density. There's also the way that you deploy them in the car, and you can make it more efficient in that way. Charging time is a chemistry issue that may be challenging. I think there are people working on making more fast charging batteries. I think that problem is overstated. Having driven something like 70,000 miles in Teslas, Yeah, sometimes it's a little slow, but you save so much time charging at home versus going to a gas station that in net, you're saving time already. So I think people who whine about charging times, number one, don't know how long it takes. 'Cause I would say most of my charges were less than 25 minutes, and the average was probably 20. There was an occasional 45-minute charge time. Um, but if you charge at home, wake up in the morning, you're at 80, 90%, depending on what battery you have, you might be at 100%. So unless you drive, if you don't drive more than 200 miles in a day how many days a year do you drive more than 200 miles? If you don't drive more than 200 miles most day, if you only do that more than a few days a year, then charging time is pretty trivial. You save time by charging at home versus, yeah, you lose a little bit of time on the road trip. And there'll be some incremental improvements, but there's a battery chemistry issue, at least with nickel-based chemistries, and I think with lithium iron with iron phosphate as well. Do I think FSD in its current state is good enough to have a limited geofence robotaxi to rival Waymo right now? No, and I don't care about rivaling Waymo. Waymo is trivial. Waymo is not important. Waymo has like very small network. They lose money like crazy. It's not. There's no point. Have you guys played the game Surviving Mars? It's fun. I have not seen that. Can't wait to swim in Lake Armstrong on Mars. That's going to be a stretch. Is it true Japan is more developed than us and the average Japanese person lives better? That's a tricky question. I think it depends on how you want to live your life. If you want to live in a large space and drive a big car, then America is better than almost anywhere in the world. If you want to eat well, live well, like if you don't mind living in a relatively small apartment, Bangkok is fantastic. Kuala Lumpur is fantastic. And the food is fantastic and the food is cheaper. Healthcare is cheap. Healthcare customer service is generally better in Japan and most of Asia. Um, I don't know if Japan is more developed than us. It's hard to say what you mean by more developed. Massive amount of infrastructure, great best mass transit system in the world, probably. Um, so Larry says, don't you think China will be able to get up to 1 billion autonomous miles? They don't have, there's no vehicle maker in China that is deploying a fleet in the volume that Tesla is deploying that has cameras and is doing vision only for self-driving. So I'm not saying they can't get there. I just don't think no one started yet. I think Xpeng has some autonomous miles going, but I don't think they're following the right network system. They don't have the compute because America doesn't allow um, the NVIDIA chips to be exported to China. So they probably don't have the compute either. They got a lot of problems there. Elon didn't mention Starship versions for people payload transportation on Earth, maybe not his priority anymore. Antonio Gracias mentioned payload transportation not that long ago in a video. I think Win Shotwell talked about it in a video recently. The fact that it didn't come up, Elon was talking about Mars. Mars is the priority. Just to be clear, Mars is the priority for SpaceX. It is the mission of SpaceX to get 1 million people to Mars and have a self-sustaining colony on Mars. That's the mission. There are other things that it unlocks, like Starlink and Earth-to-Earth transportation, but the focus is building a colony on Mars. That was the point of the talk. Do you think he will send Tesla bots to Mars before humans, and will it be ready by then? That's a tough question. I do think that if I were Elon, I would send Tesla bots to Mars. We have to see how the bots are developed. Humans aren't going to Mars until, let's see, first mission to Mars in our dreams 2026, right? The first any kind of mission to Mars 2026, and that's a little bit of a stretch right now. Certainly not going to be 2024, so maybe 2026, maybe 2029. Probably we're talking 2031, 2033 before humans go to Mars. And I think Optimus will certainly be ready by 2029 to go to Mars and be able to do meaningful work. How do they train it in simulation to operate in low gravity? That's an interesting point. Thank you, Life is Fun. Life is Fun says, this is the format you excel at, Warren. Stick to it. Thanks for the content. This is actually a deliberate choice, by the way, that I do more live streams and I do less edited videos. And the reason for that is because we're heading towards a world where AI will be making great edited video content. That, there's no human involved in the process, or there's just a human telling it, make a video about this. And so I believe that YouTubers like me, if we're making edited videos, we will be displaced. But it will be several years longer before AI is able to do a live stream like this. So I think live streaming and having this engagement in the chat is a better long-term strategy. And frankly, I enjoy making videos like this, doing these live streams more than I enjoy making edited videos. I'll make an edited video when it really needs to be made. and I don't feel that very often anymore. Part of it is like Farzad covers the topic and Herbert covers the topic, and there's several channels out that are covering the same things I'm covering. Stephen Mark Ryan, almost anything I say, Stephen Mark Ryan's probably said it before me, or he'll say it shortly after me. So I don't know that I'm adding that much value on those, but I really enjoy these live streams, and I get like instant questions and feedback, and I think that helps. Cindy McCain says Gaza on the edge and going over the cliff with famine and not being able to recover. Warren, can you make a live about Israel? I don't make political videos on YouTube. So I make my YouTube videos on the Daily Lie. I make my YouTube my political videos are on the Daily Lie, warrenredlick.locals.com, or they're on X, because YouTube is not a free speech platform. So I talk about topics I can talk about on YouTube. There's going to come a point in time when X offers a genuine video platform, and I will have to decide whether I'm going to continue making videos on YouTube, because YouTube censors. YouTube, doesn't respect our privacy. YouTube is feeding customer information to about Brazilians to the Brazilian government against Brazilian law. We just saw this on X today. Can't imagine how much faster all of Elon's companies will advance with the help of AI. I don't know how much that's going to help, but it's not going to hurt. Was free FSD for a month a way to get more data? I think free FSD was to get people to sign up for FSD and get more people using it. Model Y 11-minute charging with CATL battery. I have not seen that. I saw somebody say something about some fast charging. I think you want to take those claims with a grain of salt. Let's see when it's in a car and actually working. Get your ass to Mars. Yes. Isn't that from not Terminator, from Total Recall? The Boring Company will be the first on Mars to tunnel places to live and try to make that breathe. I've never seen Elon talk about the Boring Company on Mars. The amount of energy you're going to need to generate I think there probably will be long-term boring tunnels on Mars, but the amount of energy generation you're going to need to power the boring machines is going to be a challenge. So I don't think that's the early plan. Right now, the plan, I think, is to build structures and throw a lot of Martian dirt on the roof to protect from radiation. You got the planet protecting you from radiation from one side, and the 2 feet or so of Martian dirt on top protecting you from radiation. You've really minimized the radiation problem. Bots on Mars will change. So I picture bots on Mars, and the individual, there's one guy managing 10 bots. The bots are out in space, out in the vacuum or whatever, not vacuum, but the low pressure atmosphere that's not really survival for humans, and the humans inside safe, monitoring the bots. I feel like there's a job in the future called bot herder, bot management. Bots on Mars will change everything. Imagine a live stream of them working. Yep. Can we get bots to Mars in 2026? I think bots to Mars in 2026 is possible, but I don't think it's likely. We're going to see rapid development of Starship this year and then 2025. Will we be ready to send a mission to Mars in 2026? I think it's a little bit of a stretch. So all the things that you have to get right before you can do it, but I don't want to say it's impossible. It's just, I don't know if it's that likely. Mark Plot says Farzad is experimenting with an AI voice robot. Yes, I saw Farzad say that. I thought about doing it. I just decided, I don't want to make edited videos that bad anyway. Waiting for the new Model Y. When will it be released? So I have not heard Tesla say anything about a next generation, a refreshed Model Y. I think it makes sense that they would refresh the Model Y, but the Model Y is already really, really good. So, and I rode in the refreshed Model 3. It was good. Model Y is already pretty good, so I don't know how much of a gain it's going to be. Yeah, you can follow me on warrenredlick.locals.com. I have not been making a lot of videos there. The best place to find my political views and my views on everything else is to follow me on X, WR4NYGov. Just search for Warren Redlick on X and just check Elon's likes. He liked one of my posts today. The Starship post. This got a like from Elon today. So that's it. Up at the top, WR4NYGov. And not WR4NYGCV. There's a lot of fakes. I have a blue check mark. I have a Rebellion Air logo on my thing. Thank you, Bradford Ferguson. So that's how you know it's me. Charging rate is limited by cell C rate. I think in general, the chemistry is that you can't charge faster than 3 times the battery size. If you have 100, let's say a 100 kilowatt hour pack, you can't charge faster than 300 kilowatts. And then the power curve has to dip as you get more electrons in the cathode. There starts to be less room for electrons, and you have to slow down. Otherwise, you start to damage the the structure, the crystalline structure of the cathode. Mars Starship equals Jupiter 2. I'm not familiar with that reference, Mark. How much more radiation is on Mars compared to Earth? It's not that there's more radiation on Mars than Earth, it's that there's less atmosphere and magnetic field to protect people from the radiation. So if you were on the surface of Mars, you have radiation coming from above. The radiation from below is blocked by the planet. If you built a structure and you put 2 feet of Martian dirt on the roof, then you've basically protected yourself from radiation. I think you exposed to a lot more radiation if you're on the Martian surface with no protection. Elon mentioned probably not in his lifetime, but then unless freezing his body, he did say something about freezing himself. There's an article on the Wait But Why blog, WAITBUTWHY, on cryonics. If you Google Wait But Why cryonics, you'll find that article. It's really interesting. Elon probably read it. And it might not be that Elon freezes his body. It might be that Elon is able to upload his consciousness through a Neuralink and put it in a bot or a new biological substrate. Who knows? Maybe we can put our brains in dogs or something. Yeah, Mars has no electromagnetic shield and it has less atmosphere to deflect radiation, so it's kind of a double whammy. That doesn't mean like if you're on the Martian surface, you like incinerate it in a minute, right? It's just you're increasing your risk of cancer and other things. Probably get a worse sunburn. But it's not as close to the sun either, so that may help a little bit. I would expect AI to be able to create a summarized edit of the live videos. Yeah, it's probably going to happen. How's the new relationship? I've been with my girlfriend since early January. I started dating in early January. We've been together quite a bit. We just spent a week in Malaysia together. We did a week-long road trip before that. We're basically living together. Things are going great. I'm in love. I think she's in love, and I don't see a lot of problems. I think we got something really, really good. I'm really, really happy. She's wonderful to me. I think I'm good to her. She's helping me learn Thai. I'm helping her learn English. A lot of great things. People aren't thinking about monitoring the robotaxi during transport. It has not been factored into anyone's robotaxi models. This is hugely underrated. Monitoring the robotaxi during transport. I don't know what you mean. Oh, monetizing the robotaxi during transport. Still don't know what you mean by that. AI Trump is funny. Yeah. Neuralink upload. There's a TV series on Amazon Prime called Upload, which is about uploading your consciousness into a cloud, and it's kind of dumb, but it's fun to watch. Isn't Walt Disney still frozen? I don't know. Eric Mulder says, I've been following many Tesla Elon YouTubers. All of them. Warren is the best thinker and most sincere by far. Thank you, Warren. That's very kind. I think Dave Lee is really good. I think Jordan Giesecke, The Limiting Factor, is really good. I think there's some others. I think Stephen Mark Ryan's. I don't watch Stephen Mark Ryan, but I think he's great. I don't watch him because like I feel like I'm watching myself, only he's better looking, funnier, and we basically say the same things. He's just more entertaining in how he says it. Babies on the way. There are no babies on the way yet. I'm hopeful that there will be babies on the way soon, but there's no babies on the way yet. I've been really bad about wearing sunblock, Mark Platt. Forgive me. I do have some sunblock now. I did buy some. Things right over there. Got one sunblock here. And here's the one I just bought. Bought this monster sunblock SPF 50. So I did buy sunblock. I'm not that good about putting it on, but I'm trying. I'm trying. So let's see. Wow, we went like an hour and a half. I did not expect to go this long. Okay. I want to thank everybody. I don't think I have anything else to add. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover in this video. So yeah, I don't have a lot else to say. Let's see. I think we're doing good. Aussies are the master race when it comes to swearing, narrowly pipping Brits at the post. Thank you very much. So I'm gonna check out. I want to thank everybody for watching. Check back with me soon. I'll probably be doing another live stream next week. We'll see. So no, next week I will be. I think I'll be able to do a live stream a week from today. I think I'll be back and ready to do a live stream. I'm not certain of it, but I think so. We'll see how it goes. All right. Thanks everybody so much. We'll talk to you soon.